In today's episode of the Motorhome Matt podcast,
we hear a lot of stories of motorhomes being unwelcome, but is that really true?
In the news, our Alan Rogers campsite of the month is back with a new voice and face.
And we answer your questions on Pathway 4G versus Starlink, a different kind of gas refill system, and whether dealerships should be responsible for the warranty on a motorhome chassis.
Welcome to the Motorhome Matt podcast. I'm Keith Gooden.
And I'm Motorhome Matt.
Industry insights and expert advice for the world of motorhomes, caravans and campervans, and it's brought to you by thatleisureshop.com and sponsored by Ride.
Remember, please follow on your favourite podcast app, or if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you click subscribe and the little bell. I'm delighted to welcome caravan royalty into the studio. We have Lee Davey with us. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much. I mean, you're very kind with the introduction. If only that were true.
Well, it is. You're famous on YouTube. All the caravan tours you do. Anyone a fan of watching a caravan video, it's you.
Thank you very much, yeah.
Well, you're very welcome here. So, Lee, you're joining us today to talk about the Alan Rogers Campsite of the Month feature. It's back. Where are we going this month?
We are going to Spain. I mean, who wouldn't want to go to Spain? And importantly, we're going to go to northwest Spain.
Right.
A lot of people will probably travel through, and this is to highlight, if you want to take things a bit slower, maybe stay somewhere near to the port, perhaps use it as a stop off to Portugal. This could be the site for you.
Okay.
So we're going to be talking about camping as cancelas. Now, I apologise for all you Spanish speakers out there. My language skills are incredibly poor. So you could
spoken like a true man from Dorset.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you could even turn this into a drinking game. Every time I pronounce something wrong, have a sip. But anyway, as I said, camping as cancelas. It's in Galicia in Spain. So if you are looking at Spain as a clock face, it's probably about 10, 11 o'clock on the clock face. 5 to 6 hours from the ports of Santander or Bilbao, depending on where you're coming from, and it's just above sort of Portugal. So it's a great place to take in lots of things, but importantly, it's probably different to how a lot of people would imagine a Spanish campsite to be.
In what way?
Well, we're going to introduce a bit of culture with this because it's set in Santiago, where the famous homes of the famous pilgrimage. So you can stay.
The famous what? Sorry.
We were talking about this earlier, and I said it that way because I couldn't say what was it. I'm going to think pilgrimages.
Pilgrimages.
Yeah. So if you are a fan of the pilgrimage,
yes,
this is the place plural.
To go. Yeah,
because I can't say that. This is the place to go. Now, the campsite is set up on a hill.
Okay.
Some of the pitches are into the hillside, so if you're lucky, you may even get a view over the city as well.
Right. And it's a stunning city, it has to be said.
Oh, phenomenal, yeah. I mean...
And you're right, whenever we're going to Spain, we don't stop. We just keep going because we're focused on getting south or southwest. But I have been to Santiago, but not in a motorhome.
Yeah, so if you are a foodie, and you want a bit of culture, and you want to go somewhere different, but you still want a day by the coast, because the coast is only 45 minutes away, this is one for the wish list. So I'm going to see now if I can sell you a trip to camping as cancelas.
Let's do it. One of the misconceptions is that northern corner of Spain is very barren and very brown. It's not true, is it?
No, it's not. No, it's very green, in fact. It's got an Atlantic feel to it. Some people liken it to Ireland or Brittany because of where it is. Mm-hmm. So if you want something radically different to where Spain would be, or if you don't want to travel too far and you want to try somewhere in Spain, this could be worth a go.
Okay. So what can we see on the site itself? Well,
the site itself, it's relatively small. It's 113 touring pitches with 2 toilet blocks. So you're not going to be on a massive site, but you still have a 25-metre swimming pool and you have all the facilities there. The best facility that I can think of is probably the restaurant.
Okay.
Now, I've eaten at many, many, many campsite restaurants, but this one here won an award in 2020 as Spain's best campsite restaurant.
Wow, that is no mean feat because most Spanish campsites have several restaurants.
Oh, absolutely. And I've never eaten in a campsite restaurant in Spain that has been anything less than brilliant. But to win an award, I mean, they specialise in local delicacies, local produce. So you can go there, you can eat produce from the area. soak in that atmosphere, indulge yourself in all that culture in Santiago. I mean, what's not to like?
Sounds good already. Now, many campsites in Spain are not open all year, but that's not the case for this one, is it?
No, it's really not the case. Open all year.
Brilliant. Fantastic. So, tell us again, where are we?
We are at Camping As Cancelas. It's in Galicia. It's the northwest coast of Spain. And if you're looking at the ferry ports, 5 or 6 hours from the ferry ports are a short hop into Portugal.
There you are, now you know. So to find out more about all of Alan Rogers' sites and this one, just head to mhmp.info/Alan Rogers. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Okay, the main topic of today's podcast: low emission zones, overnight parking bans, weight limits are all real world challenges and pesky people who don't like somebody parking on their road. Challenges for motorhome owners. But are the motorhomers and caravanners being squeezed out?
It's a valid question. I get this a lot, hear it all the time, and all over social media. We hear accusations of councils not wishing to work with us motorhome community. So I invited a good friend of ours, Peter Vaughan, to come and join me in the studio for his view on this topic. Peter, welcome back to the Motorhome Matt podcast. It's great to have you with us. As we know, we heard before, you've been doing this for over 4 decades.
Yep.
Making video content for how long?
Oh, don't know, 10, 12, 15 years.
And video's become a more recent thing, of course, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's grown and grown. We're heading towards 100,000 subscribers now on Motorhome Campervan, which
that's incredible. Yeah, and that must be one of the biggest changes you've seen in that 45 years. Is that move to multi-channel media and video production?
Yeah, the whole job has changed beyond belief, really.
You're now no longer just writing the words. You've got to take the photos, make the video. You're doing it all. You're a one-man machine, aren't you?
Yeah. The only thing that's got easier
is
the photography, the still photography, because I used to have a medium format camera
on
a tripod, and you'd take the film, rolls and rolls of film into the shop and wait for a couple of days praying that
something came out.
The shots that you took on that grey, windy, wet day actually look okay.
So today we're talking about how maybe motorhoming has not become easier, and the fact that we are being a little bit squeezed.
Yep.
And I'd love to get your insights into this. Just throwing a few pressures at you now. We've got low emission zones, we've got overnight parking bans, landlords putting restrictions on the property they own so we can't park there, weight limits and height restrictions. It doesn't stop, does it?
No, but I think we've always had those sort of challenges. So the emission zones is a new one, but apart from that, height barriers have been around for as longer than motorhomes probably.
But do you think they're becoming more prolific though?
I think it's a very variable thing, isn't it? It depends on the attitude of the local council, and I think sometimes places get spoilt. There's a lot more campervans and motorhomes on the roads now. Don't we have to accept that? And that means that a lot of people are heading to the same places at the same time. Bank holiday weekends, you get a lot of vans heading to the coast maybe, and then locals sometimes don't like a load of motorhomes parked on the seafront for long periods.
And of course there's more and more motorhomes being able to park off-grid.
Yeah.
And people moving away from campsites, thus putting pressure on local councils to either provide a park up or put restrictions to stop it. And that sort of feels alienating to us. Do you think councils are anti-motorhome?
Not necessarily, no. I don't think they fully understand the benefits that a load of motorhomers coming to their area can provide, and the money we spend in their shops and cafes and restaurants. But I think also there's an issue of a small minority spoiling it for the majority.
As always.
Staying for too long and antisocial emptying of toilets and waste and so on. And it's unfortunate that sometimes those small minorities spoil it for the rest of it.
But that's the same in any pastime, isn't it? I mean, there's a field near us where dogs can be walked, and it's always the few that don't pick up the poo. And I know what's going to happen. The farmer's going to say, nope, that's it. You lot can go and walk somewhere else. So it is always the minority spoiling it. But do you think councils then are under-informed? Is that the issue?
I think the whole industry could do a better job of spreading the word about campervans and motorhomes. And, you know, I regularly have people say, can I have a look in that van? People that have never had a motorhome, and they're amazed how luxurious and all the facilities you've got in a modern van. And then explaining to councils and local authorities how those people using those vehicles aren't bringing everything from home with them necessarily. They still spend money in the local area. You know, they're bringing revenue into the local business.
Well, we have an impact on the local economies we visit.
Yeah.
And I love doing that. I remember we went to the Outer Hebrides and we did all we could to spend money, and there was actually nothing to spend it on. It was one community shop, and that was it. I would have happily spent more. Yeah. So we do have an impact positively when we visit a location. But equally, we're often squeezed out. The low emission zone. I hate them.
Yeah.
I hate them. They are surely having an impact on our motorhoming life, on both of us. Is your campervan ULEZ compliant?
It's Euro 6.
It
so
is.
We're all right.
So you're one ahead of me. I'm Euro 5.
Yeah.
So I'm not ULEZ compliant. Now, in reality, it doesn't have a massive impact for us in the van because it's very rarely we go into a city.
But isn't that the point? How many motorhomes go into low emission zones anyway? You're more likely to stay on a campsite on the outside of a city rather than try and park your motorhome where it's not going to fit
in the middle of town.
Where it's all multi-storey car parks. So you're better off to park outside on a nice campsite, go in on the bus or whatever transport facilities there are, walk in if it's close enough.
Yes. So what you're saying then is a ULEZ potentially has a positive impact on our pastime because it pushes people to an out-of-city campsite. Rather than the opposite, which is feeling penalised and having to pay or not being allowed in at all. We were recently in Edinburgh. We weren't allowed into the city at all. It's not a case of spend 12 quid and you can come in. We had to avoid it. And so we did camp outside of the city. I would add, we didn't bother going in.
Well, you missed out. Edinburgh's lovely. But there are ways around it too, aren't there? If you're buying a new van, it's going to be compliant, even if it is diesel. If you're on a smaller budget and you want something that's sort of car-like and does that camper van role as well, these Japanese imports that are petrol powered, but most of those are low emissions compliant.
Yes.
And of course, we're just starting to see a few electric vehicles on the market.
Well, as we record this, the show's on in Stuttgart, the CMT, which is always a good starter place for what's coming. And it's interesting, Kia have just launched the PV5, an electric van and people carrier, which would make a brilliant donor van.
Yeah, and that looks like a good rival for the ID Buzz. In fact, it's a lot cheaper than the ID Buzz, and I think it's got a bit more room in it.
I think anything's a good rival for the ID. It's too expensive and it's too small, is the reality. But also, Hyundai, is that how you say it?
It always was Hyundai, wasn't it?
Hyundai. We've all been corrected thanks to that TV ad.
They've launched the Staria camper concept at the show. It is just a concept at the moment. You can't buy it. But in reality, it looks like a sort of more up-to-date Volkswagen California type thing. Externally, it's quite pretty. It's very modern, and internally, it's got the usual side kitchen and a seat that makes into the bed. And they've done novel things like 520 watts of solar on the roof that not only can power your habitation facilities, but it can also extend the range of the vehicle.
And what's the range of it? Do you know?
250 miles. I think, or round about that.
That's realistic, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's when we get into the territory of I'd consider this. And it's got pop top all. It looks like a camper van. Well, it is a camper van. But what I find interesting about this, the fact it's electric is fascinating, but it's actually a different radiator grille name producing a factory-built camper van. So we had VW doing it with the California, we've had Ford doing it with the Nugget, but we've now got Hyundai. How do you say it? Hyundai. That's
Hyundai.
it. I still can't pronounce Hyundai.
I remember when Audis were Audis.
Audi. That's just where you're from. So we've got Hyundai making one, and Kia have said they are going to factory produce a camper van on the PV5 as well. So we're going to have two new brands on the front radiator grille, which I think is fascinating. And we saw there's a recent show, a couple of shows, Warner shows. We had the Verizon SV.
Yeah.
But
I think generally there is more interest from the motor manufacturers in the small campervan market. We've got Citroën with their Holidays. You've got Mercedes and the Marco Polo.
Of course, yeah.
And I believe Peugeot market a campervan on the German market.
Okay.
So there's quite a lot out there where they've got a suitable MPV or light van to convert, but it is all just in that sort of daily driver type campervan market.
Yeah, not long touring trips for most people anyway. Yeah. So without getting into the whole EV debate, we can touch on it if you want. But this puts pressure on us because people fear buying a diesel van because EV, if the ZEV mandate does follow through, EV is coming and people panic that their diesel van is going to become either priced off the road, squeezed off the road by ULEZ zones, or just devalue and become worthless. What would your response to those thoughts be?
I don't think people need to worry at all at the moment. I mean, motorhomes brand new motorhomes can still be registered with diesel engines up to 2035.
Yeah, which is 2026 when we record this.
Yeah.
So we've got 11 years. That's 9 years. Yeah, maths was never a strong suit. 9 years left
of production. And when you think that there are plenty of motorhomes on the road that are 20 years plus old, so those vehicles aren't going to suddenly disappear. They'll still have a value, and they'll still be in use. Yeah. And most of the vans on the road are diesel powered, so there'll still be petrol stations, fuel stations selling diesel.
But do you think we'll be priced off the road because road tax for diesel is going to go up? Surely fuel prices are going to rocket.
Yeah, but we're talking about road pricing for electric vehicles as well. So it's not not going to be that
that green cheap alternative. No, you now pay per mile.
Yeah,
here we go.
The early adopters to electric cars bought them on the basis that it was virtually free motoring. That's not going to be the case.
Well, it's already not the case.
No.
So we're going to see more change, you think, anyway, across all forms of power. I think that's inevitable, isn't it? Is there more that we should be doing as an industry? I say we, I mean manufacturers. Because what's interesting is we've named a few manufacturers that are entering the electric campervan market. I don't see the brands we're familiar with really having a go at it. Bailey pioneered the e-Endeavour as a prototype. Bursner have had a go as well. There may be other mainstream manufacturers that.
Yeah, I think perhaps the most interesting one for me, and it's not made production, was I think it was 2 years ago at Dusseldorf. Knaus showed a hybrid.
Oh yes.
Coach-built motorhome, which wasn't actually. It was a Fiat base vehicle, but the hybrid conversion wasn't done by Fiat. It was done by an external supplier.
Yeah. I saw that. But where did that go?
I think the problem is there just isn't the demand for it at the moment. People won't pay what's often a sizable premium to go electric or hybrid when they're quite happy to buy a diesel.
But they're not even available to buy. Manufacturers just aren't leading the charge with producing them.
There are one or two hybrid and electric vehicles on the market, but they're not.
But they're a stepping stone, aren't they? Because they're a short term. We've got what was the one you were testing?
The Panama.
The Panama, yeah. And that is a short term project because with the ZEV mandate coming, it's a hybrid. It's still an ICE vehicle that can't survive long term.
But I think we've got to find a better solution, and the technology will come. We're still really in quite early days of electric cars, and it's 20% of the car market. So
I don't know.
I think it's something like 20% of the UK car market. So the majority of us are still buying petrol cars,
petrol and diesel cars. Yeah, interesting. One of the things I also find interesting though at the shows when we're talking about electric and the future, which we've done with people like Paul Kirby, the electric van man, and I know you've been very anti e-campervan. And you think it's just not viable?
I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm anti. I just don't see it as being realistic yet.
Yes, fair enough.
The vehicles that are on the market are probably great for a very small minority, but most of us want longer range. We don't want to pay a huge premium to go down that route. And it's ultimately down, I think, more to the chassis manufacturers and the motorhome manufacturers, because the motorhome manufacturers are converting commercial vehicles.
Yes.
And the commercial vehicles that are electric generally have quite a small range. If I jump in my Volkswagen Transporter, when it's got a full tank, it says range 520 miles or something.
Yeah, but you can't tell me you're going to drive all of that without stopping.
No,
You're a man of a certain age. You're going to stop at least 3 times. I know I am. But the thing is, manufacturers need majority, don't they? They need demand to be driven. But what I wanted to say is that shows we're seeing more and more people coming to them in an electric car.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's definitely a sea change, I think, with the motorhome audience who are accepting of EVs. And I think they will be more accepting of electric campervans going forward. Not now, maybe, but I think there is a growing move toward being prepared for it.
Yeah, as more people get used to driving an electric car, they're probably not going to want to or be so willing to buy a diesel motorhome.
Yeah.
But they've got to be the right chassis for manufacturers to convert. I do think that hybrid is probably a good stepping stone, because that alleviates the range anxiety.
It does, yeah. And not just in the motorhome market, in the van market generally.
Yeah.
You know, for a delivery driver, they've at least got the backup of, I can run this on petrol or diesel if I want to. So that's not then a pressure we need to worry about, is what you're saying. But in terms of the pressure on us from going off-grid, you know, we want to go off-grid, and there's lots of confusion around lithium and that kind of technology. Do you think that it's going to become the norm, that we're going to just buy a motorhome with a lithium battery that has a solar panel and can go off-grid for days on end?
I think people have got to be realistic, and I've just tested an RP motorhome which was £200,000. It's an absolutely beautiful thing, and they really have gone to town on making sure that you can stay off-grid almost as long as you want.
Yeah. Is that on your Motorhome Campervan YouTube channel?
It's just gone live, yes.
Okay. I saw the teaser. It was amazing.
The RP,
really good.
RP Rebellion,
it's very cool.
Very, very
I'm an
impressive
RP,
bit,
I'm a huge fan. They're beautiful end product. At a price.
But people have got to be realistic about how long you can really stay off grid. I mean, you quite quickly run out of water. If you're showering the van, you can quite quickly run out of, I always say lose space is the worst one, because it's the one people don't talk about. They talk about uprating their lithium batteries and putting more solar panels on the roof, but your wee's got to go somewhere, hasn't it? And you quite quickly fill a cassette toilet.
So you'd like a bigger cassette toilet?
No, I like to see more manufacturers adopting alternatives to the cassette toilet.
Okay. So more like the American motorhome style. There's a tank, a black tank.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of alternatives on the market now, aren't there? From composting toilets, bag system toilets, incinerator toilets.
Yeah.
As well as those that have the big black tank.
Yeah, interesting. So do you think then that motorhoming has a strong future? Is it bright, our future? Or is it just more confusion?
I think it's very bright. More and more people seem to want to come to our shows and look at motorhomes and campervans. I mean, you've said it, that when we do the advice centre talks, the number of people that are there that have never had a motorhome or campervan, probably never been in one until
they've never even been to a show.
No.
It's often 80-90% of the room. It's incredible, which I find really enthusing and encouraging, that we've got this fresh interest, because it can be a bit of a can of worms, can't it, when you're first looking?
Oh, there's so much choice. I mean, if you're buying a car, you've probably got a good idea that you want the Volkswagen Golf or a Ford Focus or whatever it is, but even the brand names won't be familiar if you've never had a motorhome.
No,
you wouldn't know your Burstners from your Baileys or your Auto Trails from your oldest, would you?
I open your MMM magazine and even I get confused. and I'm supposed to know what I'm looking at. Peter Vaughan, thank you so much. Just remind us the name of your YouTube channel.
Motorhome Campervan.
Brilliant.
That's Peter Vaughan, the journalist at Out and About Live. He's been on a lot. Are you trying to tell me something? You're trying to push me out. Is it going to be the Matt and Pete show?
Matt and Pete?
Yeah.
There's an idea.
Yeah.
Listen, when you get that call to come in my office and sit on my sofa, then you know.
Right, okay, then. Don't go to lunch on a Friday. Don't go. Hang on. Don't go on. No
That's the
problem.
classic, isn't it? You get invited to lunch with the boss on a Friday, pack a bag,
Absolutely.
clear your desk.
So, judging by what Peter has actually said, are motorhomers being squeezed out?
No, not at all. But I think there are some challenges facing us around ULEZ, and there are certainly an increasing number of places that we're not welcome, but that's not necessarily because we are motorhomers. That's just the nature of the beast at the moment. So I think it is about being aware of where the restrictions apply, and then being clued up and travelling sensibly.
And it's not just about the restrictions, is it? I mean, I mentioned it on the intro to the show, actually. Was that some people just don't like you parking on their street.
No, it's true.
You might be doing it perfectly lawfully within the council guidelines. You've looked at the signs. You're doing what people do quite lawfully, and you got some job's worth giving you the knock.
Absolutely. Not in my backyard.
Yeah.
Move on. Get gone. So, yeah, that is true. And I guess for those that have spent millions of pounds on that beautiful seafront house, they want to look at the sea. They don't want to look at a row of white boxes. And I get that. I think that's, not unreasonable. But as I said with Peter, we need more liaison between us as a community and local councils and the authorities that govern these areas. And so they can realise that actually they can monetise it. And we are prepared, most of us anyway, are prepared to spend our hard-earned pounds when we get somewhere in the local economy. So, yeah, that means if they can give us a provision to park, as we can in Europe. I mean, in Europe, they welcome us with open arms. Even supermarkets have motorhome-friendly car parks, whereas here, put a low barrier on, keep them out.
Yeah, well, it's the British thing, isn't it? There's a rule for everything. How about you just have to calmly say to people, oh, I didn't realise you owned this road. And they don't. Or another good one is, listen, I don't tell you our sweet roads.
Yeah,
No?
Keith Gooden, motorhomer's friend.
Be nice. Be nice.
Just be nice.
Oh, Matt will get in trouble. It's the Motorhome Matt podcast with me, Keith Gooden.
And me, Motorhome Matt.
It's brought to you with thatleisureshop.com and sponsored by Ripe.
Now remember, you can get 15% off your premium with Ripe. The discount applies automatically if you click the link in the episode description.
Into the Q&A, the questions and answers. You ask the questions, and Motorhome Matt, he gives the answer. If he doesn't know, he'll ask somebody who does. First of all, Joe and Rob are in Harrogate.
Hi Matt, we're Joe and Rob from near Harrogate, and we're heading off for a 10-week motorhome trip to Norway this June. We'll be travelling via the Eurotunnel and driving up through France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Denmark and Sweden, and then spending most of our time in Sweden and Norway. We're currently trying to decide on the best internet setup for our trip, and we're looking at both the Pathway router and Starlink and weighing up which would suit us better. If we go down the Pathway route, I'd really love a bit of guidance on SIM cards. Do we need a separate SIM for each country, or is there a better option that works across Europe? As we're only passing through some of the countries for a few days, but spending longer in Sweden and Norway, we want something that's reliable without being overly complicated or expensive. We really enjoy listening to your podcast, and there's been lots of useful information, and they've been a big help in planning our trip. So it would be great to hear your thoughts. Thank you.
Well, that's a great question there, Matt, because it does confuse some people. It must be said that the Pathway 4G is an invention and marketed by thatleisureshop.com.
It is ours, yeah.
And you.
Yeah,
and Starlink is an invention by the company of a man who's sacked thousands of federal employees and does dodgy salutes the night of an election. But that's by the by. I'm not making any judgment. No judgment whatsoever. So what's the answer?
It's very kind of you not to associate me too closely with Elon Musk. It sounds like a lovely trip, Joe. Thank you for the question. Pathway is definitely a cheaper option than Starlink, but this is not necessarily about cost, it's about best use case. So if you're uploading loads of video because you've got a YouTube channel, for example, and you want to capture your whole trip and be posting, then Starlink would be a better option, I think, because you would get through loads of data. If you're just scrolling Facebook, maybe a Zoom call with children or family, then Pathway is ideal. If you're just using internet in the basic means, and it does rely on a cellular connection, which you are going to get all over Europe and up in through the Nordics.
The same one your phones use.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Starlink undoubtedly though is quicker, but as I say, a lot more expensive.
That uses low Earth satellites, thousands of them.
That's right.
A lot of astronomers are not very happy because when they try and photograph stars, they get these sort of lines across it, which are because they use long
going
exposures.
Overhead. It's amazing.
Yeah, they just catch the sunlight. But there's thousands of the things, and the astronomers are no fan of them. But they use different technology. You are communicating with something which is in space.
A satellite, rather than a cellular device.
Yeah.
So there's usually, if you buy a SIM card in the UK, most of them have a 25% cap of how much of the data you can use. So if you buy 100 gig, you can only use 25 gig of it when you're in Europe. There's an exception to this. Tesco do offer a UK SIM that has no cap for when you're using it in Europe, but it is still subjected to what's called the FUP, the Fair Usage Policy, which typically allows only 25 gig a month of your data to be used. So could end up being the same as a 25% data cap. So be mindful of that. So I would suggest there's one of two routes. It's buy a SIM here that is designed for Europe. IQ Go make a great one. It's 20 quid a year and it's £75 for 100 gigabytes. You can find out more about them at helloiq.co.uk.
So you buy your £70 worth of gigabitage, but you pay the £20 subscription.
Gigabitage.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
£70 for 100 gigabitage.
But you've got to pay the £20 to subscribe.
It's £25 a year.
25.
Yeah, £20.
What is it, £20 or £20?
£20.
£20 or £25?
20. Just go to helloiq.co.uk. Don't trust Keith. Or buy a SIM in the country you're visiting, and they will be able to be used in a different country. So you buy one in Belgium, you could use it in Norway. But a word of warning, when you're buying a SIM there, you might be asked for an address of where you live in the EU. We bought one in Belgium, and the lady behind the till said you can use this address to register it. So there are now thousands of people living at this little corner shop in Belgium by virtue of the fact they've all registered the SIM cards there. So I would suggest if you want peace of mind, buy something like Hello IQ or an EU package. You can get an EE SIM and buy their EU usage, so there's no data cap. Most of the providers of the SIM cards offer it. So buy one here if you want absolute peace of mind, you know you're covered, or just buy one in the local corner shop. And just check if you need an address to register it.
It's as easy as that.
It's not simple, though, is it?
No, it's not.
Yeah, I have three questions about this when people are saying what SIM is best. The first thing I said, well, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
So you need to know how much data you're going to use. None of us know that.
If you're going to be watching a bit of telly and doing a bit of...
a gig an hour. That's
yeah,
a typical guide. Yeah, if you're just scrolling Facebook, 300 meg a day, roughly. This is round numbers. So what are you going to do with it? Where are you going to do it? So which country or which part of a country? So you can check the Ofcom website for coverage in the UK. And then how often are you going to do it? Because you could get a subscription and pay so many pounds a month with a provider like Smarty, and you're then tied in. You can turn it off and pause it when you're not travelling. But if you're just going for one trip, so Joe and Rob are going for 10 weeks, it's not worth a contract. Just buy a SIM that's going to last you for 10 weeks based on the amount of data you need. So I use an EE SIM that lasts for 12 months, has 120 gig on it. It is a UK SIM, so I could only use 25% of that in the EU, but I've bought it for here in the UK, and they last us a year. So they're 48 quid. £4 a month is nothing.
There you go, Joe and Rob. Anyway, Barry Mullins-Welburn lives in Rotherham and is asking, hi Matt and Keith, regarding refilling of the gas low system abroad. We have a system that you refill by opening the locker door and the refill point is fixed inside and not on the external of the vehicle. Would this be a problem in France, Italy or Spain? We went to Belgium for the new year and didn't encounter any problems refilling. Excellent podcast, by the way, and looking forward to your answer.
Thank you very much. Well, best practice is to use a refill point on the outside the van. So you're right to ask this question. Any issue is going to be at the discretion of the gas pump operator. Some attendants, particularly in my experience, those in Germany and Spain, occasionally France, may refuse to allow you to refill if the refill point is in a gas locker. The same if you're trying to pull a bottle out of the gas cage or the gas cupboard and putting it on the floor and connecting the refill point straight to the bottle. They don't like it. If your locker door has to remain open during filling, or the filler point is not externally mounted, or they think you're going to remove a bottle from the van, you are likely to get stopped. You might get away with it, but it does depend on the individual forecourt operator and how familiar they are with refill systems.
Okay. Is that the answer? Top to bottom?
Top to bottom.
Mike Hollands in Honington and Devon. I recently listened to your podcast with Peter Vaughan about that Peter again.
You feeling threatened?
No, not at all. The Matt and Pete show. A podcast with Pete Vaughan about the state of the industry. One change that I think is worthy of serious consideration is the warranty.
He goes on to say, I believe the whole leisure vehicle should be the responsibility of the company that sold it to you. You spend a large amount of money, drive down the road, and if something on the cab or engine fails, you ring where you bought it, and their response is, well, that's Fiat, Peugeot, etc. It's their responsibility.
Well, he says, I don't think that's correct. You bought it from a motorhome dealership, and they should be responsible for the whole vehicle. It would mean that they take responsibility for the whole vehicle, and you don't get into a potential passing the buck from cab manufacturer to motorhome maker. I've got a question for you.
Go on.
If you buy a television
from
a retailer, and it's not of merchantable quality. In other words, it was broken when you bought it. You can return it to the retailer and they will give you a replacement. However, if it breaks down after 3 weeks or a month or whatever, then the retailer is perfectly within their rights to say that's, you claim that under the manufacturer's warranty.
Correct.
Isn't it the same for motorhomes?
It is, and that's the point here. So, and the complication comes because a motorhome generally has two manufacturers. It has the engine and chassis, so Fiat or Peugeot, Ford, Mercedes, and so on. And then that chassis is given to a converter such as Adria, Auto Trail, Roller Team, you name it, and they do the conversion. And so you've got two manufacturers working completely separately to each other, and often is the case that there's a fault which is a crossover between the two. So we recently had an issue where the rear lights on an Auto Trail motorhome stopped working. Now Auto Trail replaced the rear lights with their own very funky LED design, but it uses all the Fiat wiring. And there was a fault, it failed the MOT, and so we took it back to Auto Trail, who said, or the Auto Trail dealer, who said, it's a Fiat issue, it's the rear lights. So it went to Fiat, and they said, no, they're not our lights, they're Auto Trail.
And that's when the problem starts.
And then, pillar to post. And we got stuck in a catch-22. Now, I got fed up of this in the end, because this vehicle is on our hire fleet. And in the end, I got our own auto electrician who came in, and in half an hour he fixed it. Yeah. And I had to pay for that. So that was outside of any warranty. So there is this kind of awkward position between chassis manufacturer and motorhome converter. But the point Mike's making is he wants the ability to take it back to the dealer that supplied it and leave the whole issue with them to sort out.
And from his point of view, you can understand that because that's where he bought it. That's who he has the relationship with.
Yeah, and I agree. But the issue comes, who's going to fix it? So it depends then on the willingness of the dealer to do all the running around and doing that from pillar to post between the two manufacturers, trying to get a warranty claim completed and a repair effected. And it would be easier for a dealer to say, well, if it's the motorhome side, we'll sort that for you because you've the relationship with us and we have the relationship with the manufacturer. They're generally not interested in a relationship with the consumer. There are exceptions, manufacturers like Consort, who will take a consumer into their care and look after them directly. But most manufacturers go, no, deal with your dealer. If it's a Fiat issue, for example, so it's a chassis issue, they have to have the hassle then of taking it there. And they don't want that. They ain't got time for that.
Right.
So they ask you to do it. They say, well, your warranty on the chassis is with Fiat, so take it back to them.
You've got the warranty.
Yeah. So I'm afraid this is a woeful example of the level of after-sales support that exists in our industry, and it absolutely annoys the heck out of me. It's a huge topic, and I am not alone in saying this, and I'm sure there's lots of people listening or watching that are nodding and agreeing, and this is one of the reasons why I partnered, and a shameless plug here, for Warranty Solutions Group, because They offer a third-party warranty that can run alongside a manufacturer warranty, be it the manufacturer of the motorhome or the manufacturer of the chassis, and they will allow you to take it anywhere to get it fixed, because they will pay an hourly rate. And this is another big issue in our industry, is that manufacturers are paying a very low rate per hour, far less than the dealer wants to charge. So they're out of pocket when they have to fix something for you. And what WSG offer is a main dealer rate per hour, which means you could take the vehicle to any dealership or any repair shop that they approve, and all they want them to be is VAT registered. And the reason for that is they keep records, and you can get it repaired there. And my recommendation is that you consider buying your own warranty with Warranty Solutions Group, who then are your backup plan. And in the event that the dealer can't fit you in for 6 months, that's a reality as well. Imagine that at this time of year. We're here in June.
That's just ridiculous.
And we'll fit you in September. Yeah, but I'm going on holiday next week.
Yeah.
You could contact WSG, and we've done a whole episode with them in the past, and they're coming back on the podcast to discuss other issues around warranty. I think they give you peace of mind and a route to getting this fixed very quickly, far quicker than a motorhome manufacturer is going to deal with it, or even a dealer is going to deal with it.
Yeah, and you would have thought, wouldn't you, that the chassis manufacturer would be in some sort of conversation with the people who are putting the cab on and make.
Well, they are at the point they sell them.
Yeah, but don't they approve the plans? Isn't there any communication between the two of them? So when something goes wrong, you're not getting knocked from pillar to post. I mean, what you suggest is a great suggestion, but you're getting somebody else involved. It's another layer in the cake, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But if it means you can go on holiday, then surely it's got to be worth it.
Yeah.
For the sake of a few £100, this, imagine Joe and Rob's trip to Norway. They're going for 10 weeks. I bet they've been planning that for months, if not longer, and looking forward to it for even longer. And then something goes wrong on the chassis and they can't get it booked in, because at this time of year, every dealer is busy to getting hab checks done, getting servicing done, because everybody wants to go on holiday. And the trip's then in jeopardy and you can't go at all. Or you've got to go and hire a motorhome to go.
So if you've got that extra layer of warranty, there's somebody you can go to. It's a life belt, isn't it?
It's an absolute safety net, and it means you potentially are covered. And I commend Warranty Solutions Group to you. They are Motorhome Matt approved, and you'll find them on our approved directory at mhmp.info/approved.
How do people get in touch then, Matt?
We'd love it if you did. Yeah, thank you. The questions are the gold in this podcast, so thank you for them. Head to mhmp.info/ask Matt. You can fill in the form and we'll read it for you, or record your question with the orange button, but remember to tell us where you are.
Take an ace look at our Facebook
Very
group.
clever.
It's called Chat with Motorhome Matt. It's at mhmp.info/chat.
And if you are looking for trusted brands and services that I can commend, then make sure you visit the Motorhome Matt approved directory. You will find it at mhmp.info/approved.
And remember to follow on your favourite podcast app and subscribe, please. It does make a difference on YouTube.